Okay. Chair, we're ready. Okay. Ready? Right. Good morning, Chair, board members, General Manager. Um, Please lower your voices or be quiet, please. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair, board members, General Manager. There is one member of the public wishing to provide comments. Mr. James Myers, can you step up? When you're speaking on items 1, 2, 3, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is James Myers. I'm from Patterson Houses. We're in dire need of the building being pointed. We don't have no hot water, so these are things that we need. Patterson, if you don't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to have no hot water. So therefore, you have to get up 3 o'clock in the morning to wash up. Then you'll have a little hot water. But anything after that, there is no hot water. So I think that we're in dire need of something being done. Okay, now I don't know if do we have heating plant technicians that should check the tank room, because the tank room could be messed up where the filter are cold, but I don't think they're doing this. So therefore, they need someone to actually go and check these tank rooms to see if it's putting out the amount of, heat that it should be or whatever, the water. So these are things that they're not doing. Okay? Number 2, we spent millions of dollars to work, have the contractors to fix doors, put in doors and stuff like that. These doors are not put in correctly. They're all messed up. From the door check to cylinders, all these things are not done correct. And no one actually from housing actually come and, check it. Mr. Vito came and checked it out and he looked at it. But we need someone to come and straighten out this situation, because we're still spending millions of dollars to do this. Because number one, they keep saying that, oh, the budget doesn't do this and the budget doesn't. If the budget was set for them to do this at the first beginning, then this thing should be corrected. But now they're saying that they're running out of money. How could you run out of money when they set it up saying they're going to do a certain thing and they didn't do it? Okay? The building in dire need of being pointed. This building hasn't been pointed over 40 years. And when it rains on the side, the water comes in. It's like a drip. These are things that they need to be done. And they haven't done it. The new buildings that they put up, they point the new building. Right across from us, we have a building, we have Munhaven Project. They appointed those a couple of years ago. Patterson, they don't do anything to a certain extent. Like we're a lost child, that they don't care what's going on. But I think that someone should do it, and also I think that the chairman should come up and look and see what's going on in Patterson. I think my predecessor, Ms. McKay, invited the chairman up and Mr. Vito to come and, to one of our meetings, which we have the first Wednesday out of the month, where we meet and we talk with the contractors and all that. I think that, you're welcome to come and check on us and see if we can get something happening, something to improve Patterson. Because Patterson is going down, not improving. It's not, we're wasting money. I think that's what the intention is, to waste money and saying, well, hey, this is what we've done. But technically, you're not doing anything. You're just throwing the money away. Improve Patterson. That's all I want. That's from the locks the pointing of the building, and hot water. If we can get hot water, it's great, because they give us heat now, but they took the hot water away. Okay? So that's all I had to say, and I hope everyone have a nice Thanksgiving. Okay?
Thank you.
Right, okay, bye.
Thank you. Chair, that concludes our public comments portion, and we'll proceed with the regular calendar. The first order of business is to adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, October 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. We will now proceed with the chair's report.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners and staff and members of the public. Just a couple items I wanted to relay to the board and at this meeting. We are falling into a routine and practice with respect to the monitorship agreement that we have executed with HUD, the Southern District in the city. And as part of that, Hunter Kurtz, who is the, I believe he is the Assistant Secretary for Public and Indian Housing, and he's going to do a monthly meeting that we'll be attending. And we had our first last week, which I thought went pretty well. We had a good exchange across the partners in the agreement and talked through a number of the things that we're working on, both as part of the compliance effort and to build what I would describe as a partnership with the monitors team in order to get the work done that we're charged with doing. So there could be items that come out of those meetings that would be, at this point, we had a discussion, and then they came and had actually a preview of pieces of what will be the heat preparedness preview. And they also, I think, stayed through the afternoon to see the results of those efforts. We're probably very close to the heating action plan approval, and our hope is elevators will follow. We're actually very excited about both of those. In addition, we continue to participate in the Fulton Working Group, and if you know that we are part of that working group process. There were 2 meetings last week. They were larger public meetings that members of the neighborhood were invited to attend. And we've got our facilitator, Hester Street, was setting up work tables, and folks were indicating what they considered their priorities for thinking about what future investment might take place in Fulton, Chelsea area there. And I have to say, I thought both of those sessions went well, and folks were participating very actively, and that material will be gathered up, and we have a meeting tonight with just the working group, and we'll probably begin to debrief from that. The next thing to keep on the horizon for all of us, commissioners and staff alike, is that we expect the monitor's consultant, KPMG, to issue their reorganization report or recommendations on reorganization either this week or next week, so it would be very soon. If you recall, the way the agreement is written, we are required to provide a reorganization plan for the Housing Authority 6 months after we receive that report. And that will be a fundamental change for the organization. And there's not a single one of us that won't be impacted by this document or the kinds of things that we may have to do to come up with a reorganization plan that the monitor can approve. And our hope is that we will be working with the monitors team to do that and to pull together ideas on this. We're also going to need to engage the board members, staff, and residents in this process. So we'll have to figure some of that out and begin to think about how we're going to do that. So that is coming, and once we have the document, we may do a summary of it. It's quite lengthy because they've 3 layers of reporting, and I'd like to pull out the high-level material and get that circulated to senior staff and to the commissioners and others, because this is a chance to really reshape the organization in a way that would impact us for many years to come. And my last item on the chair's report is an acknowledgement. We have 2 individuals changing jobs, Arden and Jillian. If you know both of them, they have been working with me since I started. And Jillian is actually taking a new position as Chief of Staff at Parks. So I congratulated her, and I said, you've got to tell me what comes across Chief of Staff at Parks versus what you have at NYCHA, and are there mean trees out there or what? So I'll be curious to see how she's dealing with that. And then Arden is going to take some time, and she's thinking about what she's going to pursue next. But I want to say, I know that they have served 3 chairs and served them very well, and myself included, and in a really difficult time of transition for the Housing Authority. So I could not have landed anywhere standing without their help, because they really have been tremendous to work with, and I want to thank them for being part of this and helping me become part of this. So just acknowledging both of those. And I don't know if either one is here, but I just thought I'd go on record. So they're probably working somewhere. But thanks to both of them, and we wish them well in their new work. So I just want to give them a round of applause. And then we have briefings. So did you want to add anything?
No, I think the briefing
Is ready to go. Okay. So we wanted to give a peek or a preview. We do not have the approved heat action plan yet, and once we do, there'll be a deeper dive into this, but we wanted to get it set up so that you had some familiarity with what's coming. So please.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Good morning. I'm Joey Koch. I'm the Senior Vice President of Support Services.
Good morning. I'm Javier Moldova, the Director of the Heating Management Services Department.
This is an overview of what the heating department has been doing to prepare for heat season. It's an operational overview. We've been working very hard and diligently, so happy to present. Just in terms of background, we maintain a vast heating operation, as you are well aware, either directly or through a third-party vendor. We have over 1,700 boilers, close to 1,500 vacuum tanks, over 800 instantaneous hot water heaters. NYCHA's operation is managed by the Heating Management Services Department. We have 549 full-time in staff as of October 31st, 2019, and that includes 70 new heating plant technicians that we hired specifically at the beginning of this heating season. The total budget for the heating department is $115 million, which includes federal operating dollars and city funding. We are responsible for the management and repair of boiler plants, tank rooms, and ancillary equipment to maintain NYCHA's building heating systems, from the boiler plants to the distribution systems to the apartment radiators. This is an illustration of what a heating distribution system looks like. Most of our developments have what's called a centralized heating system. In one building, you may have the boiler, which is depicted on the left, and then the steam and the condensate through the various piping underground goes to the various tank rooms within the buildings, and then it goes up into the buildings to the radiators. So heating at NYCHA, as many of you may or may not know, it's not just the boiler, it is the ancillary equipment that we have to worry about, quite frankly, and this is an illustration of what that looks like, so you have just a frame of reference. The majority of NYCHA's heating assets are or will soon be past their useful life. These aging boiler rooms must also rely on the interior distribution lines and equipment that in many cases are as old as the buildings themselves. So if you think back to the picture I just shared with you, all those lines, those are really old, and they're what's bringing the steam. So we may have a brand-new boiler, but the distribution system might be the problem. Under New York Multiple Dwelling Law 79 and New York City Administrative Code, we have to provide heat to residential buildings October 1st through May 31st, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. If the temperature is below 55 degrees, we must maintain a minimum temperature of 68 degrees. And in the evening, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., regardless of the temperature outside, we have to maintain an internal temperature of 62 degrees. So despite the challenges of our aging infrastructure and heating assets, heating has made significant operational changes, and as of last heating season, we are in compliance with the terms of the HUD agreement. So we have to maintain a 12-hour restoration time. Last heating season, we were at 8 hours. As point of comparison, we were at 30 hours the year before. To give you a sense of where we are currently with this heating season, last year at this time, we had 281 outages with a restoration time of 11 hours. This year so far, we've had 151 outages and a restoration time of 9 hours. So we are about down so far 130 outages, which is remarkable. And then the other graphic is just a comparison of where we were last year and the percentages of outages in terms of timing. So if you look at the 2017-2018 heating season, 60% of the outages were within the 24-hour time frame, but 40% were over 24 hours and 29% were at 48 hours in comparison to last year. 96 of all of our outages were restored within 24 hours, 83% within 12, which is quite wonderful. Heating does a wonderful job. And only 4% lasted over 24 hours. This year, we've had some challenges. Though 82% are still were restored within 12 hours and 93 within 24, we did have some scenarios where outages did occur more than 24 hours. And often that was due to the infrastructure of the development and not to the heating system per se. So what did we do to get ready? So we perform an annual summer overhaul. We inspect and repair boilers, hot water heaters, and vacuum tanks. Last year, the mayor gave us $20 million in operating funds to work on heating systems. We are diligently almost complete with all of that work. An example of some of the work that we've done is we've replaced 184 isolation valve replacements. We've done 128 zone valve replacements. We've done 105 heat control panel replacements. We have bought 5 mobile boilers. That contract is actually before the board today for ratification and approval. We've done 3 condensate tank replacements. So we've done a whole plethora of work throughout NYCHA to utilize the additional $20 million. And a lot of this money was utilized for needs that we knew that we had but did not have the funding to do, and were on Javier's wish list for many years. So what did we do to improve operation? So there is an illustration of a heating dashboard that was created at the beginning of last heating season and continues to be improved upon. Our 24-hour heat desk looks at this dashboard 24 hours a day and dispatches staff accordingly. We have staff 24 hours a day in their assigned clusters from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then roving teams in all 5 boroughs from 4 p.m. until 8 a.m. the following morning. And our 24-hour heat desk looks at the dashboard. They see the incoming work orders. They look at the sensors that might be going off in various boiler rooms that alert us to a problem, and they dispatch staff accordingly. As I mentioned, we do have staff 24 hours a day. That started mid-December of last year, and we have continued it this year. Plus, we have an additional 70 in HPTs. We have extensive training that we are doing with the new HPTs and HPTs that have been in heating for a while. They are working 3 days and in training 2 days a week to make sure that they are up and coming. And we believe that by the end of this season into next season, we will see the full effect, thank you, of the training that we've been doing. And when it gets below 32 degrees and at the discretion of the GM, we activate the situation room, which has not only the heat desk, but it has all units within NYCHA so that we can act accordingly if we are in a cold temperature situation. We have improved resident notifications and communication. We post notices in all buildings when there is a planned or an unplanned outage. We also take a photograph of that notice and upload it to the work order so that we can make sure that it's being done and track that. We also have automated robocalls to residents to let them know of a planned service disruption and an unplanned service disruption. When heat has been restored, we have what's called an IVR feature, where a resident can press, once heat has been restored, if that resident is still having a problem, they can press 1 to reach out to the customer care center and report another issue, so we can look at maybe it's a radiator issue or a window issue, but not a plant-wide issue. We have upgraded and updated the resident section of the NYCHA website for better communication as to what's happening in real time. And hopefully by the end of the year, that is the goal, we will be having push notifications via the My NYCHA app. So residents will not be getting 15 trillion phone calls when an outage is restored, or but they can get a push notification on their phone if they so choose, and they will know that heat is either out or has been restored. So I think that'll be a great addition. We also have tightened up our policies for when residents aren't home. So if a resident complained about a heat issue and we knock on the door and they're not there, we will slip the notice that we were there under the door, but we will also go to the apartment above and below so that we can get an accurate temperature reading. Work orders are not closed, outage work orders are not closed until we have temperature readings from residents, so we confirm them, and the photographs of the thermometers are uploaded to work orders as well. This is an example of a tweet that we send out when there is an issue at one of our developments. So we're also utilizing social media as well. Just to elaborate further on our communication strategy, to the right is what we currently have for the service interruptions on our website. Additionally, we have sensors in various apartments throughout NYCHA. More will be rolled out throughout the next year. But we now have on the website where residents and the general public can go and see what the sensors in the apartment are reading for temperatures. So that's something that we're tracking as well, and that's a brand new addition. Mobile boilers, which is always a topic of conversation. In the event that there is a major boiler room failure, and restoring the plant will take significantly longer than 24 hours, we will utilize mobile boilers. This is a last resort, however, because it often takes about 48 hours to install a mobile boiler. Our systems are complicated. They're not plug and play, as we like to say, so it's complicated to install them. Currently, we have 62 mobile boilers that are either currently installed and operating or staged at various developments where we're concerned that there might be an issue throughout the heating season. And to reduce the time that it does take to install a mobile boiler, we have conducted a survey of all NYCHA properties and have created maps where mobile boilers will go and what tools and various work is needed to install a mobile boiler. That was actually at the suggestion of HUD, and so I thank HUD for making a very helpful suggestion that we have implemented as well. And that's it. Yes,
Statement and question. The communications is excellent.
thank you.
I'm getting these messages, emails, the robocalls. In some cases, if I'm not home and there's been an interruption, I'll look at my phone and I'll see that there has been a restoration. So, okay, that's excellent. But I did have a couple of questions. In regards to the 24-hour staffing, in some cases we have boilers that one might go down and one might just need someone to babysit it. Will there be watches in place like they used to be, like 5 a.m. before, because you just need somebody to kickstart some of these boilers until someone arrives.
Yep.
Because, just from personal experience, anything after 2 hours, I know that goal that y'all reach is very good, but anything after 2 hours, depending on medical conditions or whatever, no heat is really, kind of difficult to deal with. But so the staffing, are there watches in place? I know that roving teams, sometimes they get tied up, but are there staffing at location where one guy might have one boiler going, something like that?
Yes, we do. We have what's called an AM watch and a PM watch. So we have boiler rooms that are covered from 5 AM till 10 PM, in addition to the roving teams. And we also have overnight roving teams as well.
I know about them, yeah.
But we do have watches, yes.
And if we're aware of a situation where the boiler is problematic, we will do a 24-hour watch at that location. That's where we will station people. So it depends on the circumstances. If we're aware of a circumstance where we may need to reset it every 2 hours or be concerned about that, we will have staff stationed there 24 hours.
And the next question is the heat check, the thermometers and the sensors. In the case of the thermometers, when someone shows up, and say a resident, which sometimes they'll have to boil water, or sometimes there might be an oven on, but how is the determination made on an adequate heat check?
So we go to the coldest room in the apartment. So if we see that there are electric space heaters that they might be utilizing, they might be using boiling water, have their stove going, whatever it might be, we will not check the temperature in that room. We will go to the coldest room in the apartment to take the temperature.
And the last question, the heat sensors. Those, there was an issue that they wanted, because it was an ongoing situation, and they wanted to put the heat sensors in. And at this time, they put them up high. So I asked them why they're not put at comfort levels, like where you're sitting, where you're sleeping, where you're eating, as opposed to up high where the lights are, because heat rises, the lights and stuff like that. So has the policy changed, or there's some differential with that, with the heat sensors? The heat sensors, when there's an ongoing issue and they want to see what's going on, the sensors sometimes are placed high instead of at comfort levels. I call it bed, sleeping, eating,
So
sitting.
we would have to look into that to see how it is that they are being installed, but generally, they should be at about eye level, not all the way up, because like, as you said, heat does rise. So it shouldn't be somewhere on the ceiling, so we would have to look into that.
Okay, because when you get cold, it's your legs here, you're sleeping, eating, those things. Okay.
But do you know of any developments where they were installed?
On the ceiling.
On the ceiling?
Well, I had personal experience, I'm just going from personal experience when they came a couple of times to do it. So I'm just asking, has the policy changed in replacement of the heating sensors? That's all.
We'll look into it. I'll have to look into it and get back to you.
I don't have an ongoing situation, but I'm just.
All right.
well,
Sure.
I was-
No,
Yeah, we'll look into it for sure.
All right, thank you, that's it.
With me, it's more or less the equipment. I don't know the technical terms of it, but I call it the magic wand. Whenever there's issues in the apartment through either lack of heat or insufficient heat, and the technician or the repair person shows up and they stand in the middle of the room and they wave this thing, okay? Now, it gets mixed readings. It shows, from that wand, it shows that it's 72 degrees in the apartment. But you standing there in your long johns and everything else, is not the same reading. So how do you determine what's what? You can touch the walls in that very same room and they're ice cold.
Forgot that, yeah.
Yet this wand is telling you that it's 72 degrees in your apartment. How do you, how does that work? I mean,
So the magic wand, as you call it, the
Yeah.
thermometer, it's taking an ambient temperature reading. It's taking the temperature of the air in the room, which is what we use, and that's what the system uses to make the adjustments on the valve. Unfortunately, it doesn't take surface temperature of a wall. It's taking the air temperature. That's the recording that we always take.
Right. And the thermometers that we do use are accurate to, I believe, 1 or 2 degrees, plus or minus. Right, so-
mind you, you just came from outside and you're coming into an apartment that feels like a refrigerator. And you're waving this thing telling the resident that it's 72 degrees in that room. there's something wrong there somewhere. Although the response most of the times, even when the resident insists that it's insufficient, they will go and try to pump up the heat just a wee bit to see if that changes it. And they will come back in 2 to 3 hours. The question is that in the initial thing, I mean, they should first check to see what the heating is downstairs. Then go to the
They do.
apartment and do that.
And that
That's what they
indeed is the process. And what we've done is that we've enhanced the maximum work order system so that the HPT, when he's closing out that work order, must enter the values that he recorded in the tank room. It would not allow him to close that ticket or continue with it unless he enters that value first.
Yeah, so the first thing that we do when we get to a building is we go to the tank room and the boiler room and we check the equipment to make sure that the equipment is working. Then we go up to the residence and we will also wait. If there has been an issue, we will wait 2 hours or so to make sure that there's adequate time to get the steam going and then go and check temperatures. But you're absolutely right. The first place we do go is the tank room and check on the equipment.
So the other issue is with regards to the same example. If a resident can actually put their hands on the heat, whatever the radiator or whatever it's called, and they can keep their hands on there for 5 minutes, that's insufficient heat. They should not be able to keep their hands on that equipment without feeling the pain of the heat.
So if it's the WEMS system or one of the systems that uses the indoor temperatures, what that system does, it actually closes down the zone valve once it reaches the high set point. And the high set point is 75 degrees. So once the temperature average in the building reaches 75, it begins to close down that zone valve. And in some cases, it closes it all the way down, and that may cause the effect that you're describing, where you don't feel the pipes piping hot.
So for efficiency, just to give a background on kind of how this works, the energy efficiently boilers and systems that we're installing are set to record a certain temperature, 75, as Javier mentioned. When it hits the 75, they will close it so that we're not having enormous amounts of heat. If indeed the temperature goes back down, it then opens again. So it's to be a consistent temperature, but it is possible that residents may be able to touch their radiators if they're showing that the temperature is what we set it to.
Right.
And that's for energy efficiency.
Right, and the low number is 70.
70, that's correct.
So when it reaches 70, it will start the cycle over again. It's no different, than houses that have HVAC systems. There's not constantly hot air blowing out. Right? The hot air blows out until the room reaches an ambient temperature and then it shuts down. We talked about we don't take temperature readings in apartments when there's auxiliary heat being used, either space heaters or ovens. Conversely, I'd also like to ask our residents to please be mindful, if you have air conditioners in the windows, cover them. Because I've been in apartments where, when I've asked what the coldest room is, someone takes me to a room with an air conditioner and it's not properly covered, and you can get a draft from that. So if you can't remove it, cover it, even with plastic, and it does help tremendously.
Also mention under the sill. Sometimes there's a gap
A
where,
bit of a draft.
right,
Right.
okay.
And so we do adjust windows if we find that windows are out of balance, right, and are allowing drafts to come in. So that's all part of it as well.
And then the last thing is, I know that there was a time, and I had spoken to Mr. Almodovar with regards to it. Each development and each HPT in these developments knows where the equipment is and knows how to arrange it. But in the event that another HPT comes from somewhere else, a development that has maybe a different heating system, which we know developments have different heating systems. I remember that I had spoken to him about identifying what's what in those areas so that even an HPT from a different development can come and know which switch to pull or yank or whatever the terminology is. So I remember you started with that. Have we moved along and gotten most of the these parts
Yes, we have,
identified?
yes. And part of the training for all HPTs is to learn on every single type of system that we do have. But one of the things that we try to do is to try not to move people around. Now that we have some additional staff, we have the ability to keep people or HPTs assigned to specific locations and keep them there without having to move them around.
And if I may, the last stat that I wanted to throw out there, we talked about the IVR system, right, the integrated voice messaging that we put in place last heat season, which has been a tremendous help to identify when there might be a problem within an apartment or within a line. So just very quickly, so we have made 110,000 calls to residents, right, through the robocall system, saying that heat has been restored. Right, of those 110,000, 50,000 were actually answered by a resident. Right, 32,000 responded saying heat's fine. Only 4,000 were transferred to the call center for additional research and response. So it's been a tremendous help in narrowing down where the problem might be. And again, it could very well be that the radiator valve is closed, or not open all the way. So it's really been helpful for us to identify specific apartments.
I just want to piggyback on what board member said. In-house staff is familiar with the surroundings and equipment. In responding, sometimes the roving team will come in this emergency situation and they will jack it up. They will crack the bypass. There might be one boiler running, and that puts a strain on that one boiler.
Absolutely.
So by the time our staff gets there, now we have a complete outage, a situation that has to be dealt with. And in regards to the what he was saying about the sensors and stuff like that, though that should really be looked at, because sometimes that's a little misleading or off. Not intentional, I'm just saying it should be a little bit, and that's it.
Thank you.
Good.
Matt?
Just on the mobile boilers that, as of the October 1 number, will those stay in place indefinitely? I mean, sort of how do you move from?
It depends. So it
Okay.
depends on why there's a mobile boiler. Many mobile boilers are installed because we're redoing the boiler room.
Okay.
And so that's how it provides heat. In other instances, we have pre-staged where we think, based on experience, where there might be an issue with the boiler. So we have the mobile there just in case. And if it turns out that that is fine, we could always move that boiler if we need to. We also have a stock of mobile boilers in Throckmorton that we can deploy throughout the city if need be. We also have a mobile boiler rental contract that if all of the other resources are tapped out, they will come and install a mobile as well.
So I have a board question, actually, and that is whether there would be a way for us to be notified for any development that's out over 12 hours or over 24. This is so important,
Right.
and I would like to know when we've got a situation that's over 12, or maybe 24 to be realistic. But I would like to ask you to consider that.
And at the start, you can go on the website,
Right.
and I do that periodically to see, pardon me, if the website syncs up with the internal notifications that we get. And that is posted, and the time and the estimated, the impact on the units, that's all posted. We could talk about that and then see if there's a way to, because there's a lot of information coming out of this, and I don't want to get you on a list where you're getting maybe the same thing that you and I are getting, but that's a personal call in some cases, how much you want to have, but.
Well, I'd like to
you-
consider a way to know when we
Yeah.
have an extended
That
outage.
you
That's
get,
sort
that
of
you
the-
get a nudge or
that we get an
something.
alert.
Okay.
It's just so important during this season.
And any other questions or comments? I just wanted to do two things, well, maybe three. There's a gentleman in the back from Patterson who, when you get a chance, he has a hot water issue. The second thing is, I think that one of the things that we have to recognize with the heating systems that we have is their formidable pieces of equipment and distribution, in the sense that they are of their age, and they represent a technology, in fact, that is not a technology that's employed today. And that means that we will have outages. But in exchange, what we're compelled and required, and we do as part of our mission, is get the plants and the systems back online as fast as we can. So I'm encouraged by our trend numbers. We're not willing to declare any kind of victory of a long winter yet, but that is encouraging. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, I mentioned in the chair's report that our current chief of staff, Arden, is going to be leaving, and I wanted to announce that Joey is going to be the new chief of staff. So we can ask her to continue to do heat presentations or not, depending on how that you might feel about that, but I'm sure that she accepted and look forward to it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other questions from the board or comments?
Just a comment. I want to thank you with the addressing the outer sensors, the ones that determine how much heat you're gonna get. You recall I met with you and
On site, yes.
Godfrey Charles or Charles Godfrey?
Godfrey
One or the
Charles,
other.
Godfrey Charles.
And there was a concern as to the outer sensors and where they were located and how it operates. Anyway, it has gotten so much better.
Great.
So thank you for that.
Yes,
Oh, you're
good to
welcome.
hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Victor. All right,
Thank
you
you.
both.
Thank you.
Good job.
We'll now proceed with the calendar items, items 1 through 58. Number 1.
Good morning. Everyone can hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but before you start, I just have one announcement. We received a letter acknowledging that the voucher program had met HUD's high performer criteria. And I just wanted Lakeisha to know we were very happy to get that letter.
Thank you.
So thank you and congratulations to staff for high performance on the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If
I
not mistaken,
appreciate
that's
that.
4 years in a row?
Yes, that's 4 years in a row,
Yeah.
and we're working on year 5. Yes.
Okay.
So, well, good morning, Chair, board members, GM. I'm Lakeisha Miller. I'm representing the Lease Housing and Tenancy Administration Department, presenting item number 1. I'm requesting authorization to amend the authority's Section 8 admin plan, most recently amended by Board Resolution 18-9, 27-47, in accordance with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development regulations at 24 CFR 982.54D1, governing the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program to revise policies to be consistent with new HUD guidelines on fair housing, program admissions and eligibility, payment standards, housing quality standards, and other general program policies, and to also address minor edits to provide better clarification of existing policies. Any questions?
Question?
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
Thank you. Everyone have a blessed Thanksgiving.
You as well.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Bob Morano, NYCHA's Chief Information Officer. Item 2 is requesting to amend an agreement with Interface Cable Assemblies and Service Corporation, or ICAS for short, for the maintenance and support of our wireless and wired infrastructure. The authority has over 300 developments consisting of over 2,400 buildings. This amendment will fund and support the maintenance of all copper and fiber wiring, all inter-building wiring, all wireless bridges and access points that support elevator and boiler remote monitoring, as well as CCTV connectivity. Additional funding is also required to complete installation of wireless hotspots in storerooms for the inventory project, expansion of fiber networks at the management offices, and cabling needs for staff relocation at 90 Church Street and LIC. This amendment will fund this contract through December 31st, 2020. Any questions?
Yeah, actually, I have a question. Are we retiring copper? Is there a plan? to
Yes.
retire?
Well, the city's retiring copper.
Okay.
Verizon's retiring copper,
Done with
yes.
copper, yes.
We have a big VoIP project underway right now, will be completed by the end of the year to replace all POTS line, all plain old telephone system lines with VoIP phones, the VoIP phones that we have in the office here. So all management offices will be off of those POT lines by the end of this year. There are still some hardwired POT lines that have to remain, stuff like the phones that are in elevators. That you can't replace because they have to have their own electric signal and their own electric source. So we're not going to be replacing those kind of emergency and alarm systems are also will not be replaced. But all of the telephone systems will be.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Items 3 through 22.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving.
Morning.
My name is Stephen Lovesey. I'm the Executive Vice President of Capital Projects. Today I'll be presenting board items 3 through 22 for your consideration and approval. Prior to this, I'm pleased to provide a quick update on the City Plus heating program. This is the city's $2 million replacement of heating systems at 11 developments. And this is not a replacement in kind system. This is where we are separating the hot water boiler systems from the domestic heat, as well as putting in sensors. We worked with our partners to accelerate the design and the procurement phase. All 11 sites, or 9 contracts, have been procured on schedule, and contractors have mobilized temporary boilers at this point in time to provide reliable heat and hot water during this heating season. The contractors are right now in the process of establishing permits to do asbestos abatement and demolition, which is on schedule, and they are scheduled to complete all of these projects on time at this point. Now I'll go on to the agendas. Item number 3. Capital seeks the authorization to award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder, DDS Mechanical Plumbing and Heating Corp. This is for gas pipe replacement as part of the 5-year capital plan at Edenwald houses. There was a negative variance of 15.57%. This means that the bids came in below our estimates. We've reviewed the reasons why we believe that contractor is acceptable and the bid is acceptable. DDS has done work for us in the past. The VNC right now is pending, and the contract will not be awarded until we have an approved VNC. This is for 36 buildings for gas, cooking gas replacement. 5 of the buildings were done in previous contracts, and we will have 4 Section 3 hires associated to this plan. If there are no further comments, I will go to the second.
Steve? Yes. The schedule for this, and if we're doing this today, what do you think in terms of timing and?
So there was a question that was brought up. Very good question. In terms of the work associated to the actual replacement of the gas riser or the disruption to gas at a resident's home, that can be anywhere from about 2 to 2 weeks time period. That is the time period in which a contractor is going to come on, they will disconnect the stove, replace the piping. It depends on the contract itself, if the piping is in the wall or in the chase wall, and how much asbestos abatement is involved in that. There's some prep time, obviously, for that disruption, but we do it building by building by building. Residents receive hot plates during that time period, and that is a single hot plate as required by the electrical loads within that apartment building.
Okay.
If there are no further questions, I will go on to board item number 4. This also is a 5-year capital plan gas pipe replacement. This is at Senator Robert F. Wagner houses. The authority seeks authorization to award this contract to the lowest responsible bidder and responsive bidder. This is Skozotzi Plumbing and Heating for gas piping replacement. This too was below the estimates, a negative 36.17% variance between the bid and the estimate. We've reviewed this as well, and we believe that through their cost-cutting measures that they can provide this, and we believe that this bid is acceptable. They also have done work with us in the past and have a satisfactory evaluation, and the vendor name check was approved on October 18th, 2019. There are 22 buildings at this development. 20 of them are part of this contract. 2 of them were done on a previous contract. In this scenario, there will be 2 Section 3 hires.
Stephen, could you make sure you say the amount?
Oh, yes, excuse me. This is for $6,887,000.
Okay.
Item number 5. This is the authorization to award the contract to the sole responsive and responsible bidder, Zero, and pardon my pronunciation of the company's name, Buyan DBA Dynamic Construction Company. This is for trash hoist replacement and vertical conveyor systems at Washington houses for the amount of $2,783,303. This is a minority-owned business, and they have done work for the authority before. The VNC is pending on this, and this is part of the trash hoist program in which we are replacing the way we conveyor out the trash from the cellar areas up out of the building and then over to the waste centers. Item number 6, we're seeking the award to 2 contracts. So I'm going to do item number 6 and item number 7. We're seeking the award of 2 contracts to the lowest responsible and responsive bidders for the roofing replacement and rooftop structural renovation at South Jamaica 1 and 2 houses. This is part of the mayor's roofing initiative, and this is tranche number 4. For Jamaica 1 houses, we're suggesting J&N Corporation Group Corp, J&N.
Jamaica 1 is Zoria.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I apologize. There was a lower bidder, J&N Construction Group Corp, J&N. They were deemed non-responsible for failures outlined in the proposal. We are suggesting to use Zoria, the lowest responsible and responsive bidder for this contract. They are a minority-owned business, and they have an approved VNC vendor name check as of July 22nd, 2019. We have vetted this group, and we have found that they would be the responsible bidder for this program. They were 55.17 variance between their bid and our cost to estimate. We've reviewed this. We believe it is due to the quantities associated to the parapet and some other items, and we've determined that this bid is acceptable.
Steve, just 1 minute. We wanted to add something since
Sure.
we just got done talking about gas piping, so please.
Yeah, so the timing of that is perfect. So unfortunately, we are going into Thanksgiving with approximately 1,200 apartments without gas service. They're not here right now because they're busy setting up and making arrangements. I do want to thank my office, my staff, as well as resident engagement. We went out and purchased 1,300 meals that will be distributed from 3 central locations tomorrow to residents who asked for cooked meals for Thanksgiving. It's a major undertaking. We have close to 200 volunteers that will help distribute to apartments. As of this morning, we had a request for 1,000 meals, so we still have 300 extra. Just in the event that other residents ask for meals, and in the event that we have extra meals, we have centers that we will be bringing the meals to at the end of the day tomorrow. So it's been a great effort, and I really want to thank everyone That represents less than 1% of the total population, unit-wise, unit count of units without gas, and while that still is a high number, there's been really a great effort on the part of capital and operations to get gas services stored.
And the meals are provided by,
Thank you. So we contracted out with 10 vendors. They're all through our pathway program, our food pathway program, so they're all residents who started businesses.
Oh, that's great.
So we're purchasing all the meals through those 10 vendors.
I just had a follow-up question sort of on sort of gas piping and the challenges of gas piping. Is there ever any sense of sort of transitioning long-term to electric ranges?
and
So that we don't have to do this anymore?
we actually just ran these numbers about a month ago to look at, it is expensive to do, and one of the big things is our buildings, if you, and staff should stop me if I get too far astray, the apartments and the wiring in these buildings is original for the most part, so we're at service load levels that are incredibly low. So bringing in enough power to the building was an enormous part of the construction cost. I don't know that running the cable to the unit was also significant, but we do have those estimates and we are thinking about it. I didn't know if either one of you wanted to add anything to that or not, because I was surprised at the cost, because we have to upgrade the full service coming into the building to handle the new stove. Now on a RAD or PAC deal or a major building rehab, we certainly could think about doing that.
I have nothing to add, that's
Okay.
correct.
Wow.
You're the expert.
No, I just,
I just feel
thank
like
you for that memo, whoever wrote it. So,
I'm going to continue on to item number 7. So this is the second part of that roofing piece. For Jamaica, South Jamaica 2, the award is to J&N Construction Group Corp. They were the responsive and responsible bidder for Jamaica 2 contract. That is for $18,921,770, and they are proposing 5 Section 3 hires. The VNC for that is still pending. Item number 8. Excuse me. Pardon me. Here we go. Yep. Apologize. Item number 8. This is for Tompkins House. This is the roof replacement and rooftop structure renovation. This is also part of the mayor's roofing initiative. We're seeking the authorization to award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. This is Neelam Construction Corporation for an amount of $13,876,597.50. This is they are a minority-owned business, and they've been operating since 1988. And they have done a number of projects for us, and they are a satisfactory vendor. There is a pending vendor name check, and there will be no award until that VNC has been approved. The variance was 6% over the budget, and they are proposing 4 Section 3 hires. Items 9 through 16, I'm going to handle as one board item. This was for a authorization to award 4 and reject 4 of the 8 job order contracts. This was for various developments citywide. The job order contracts were for heating, ventilating, air conditioning systems, or HVAC, masonry work or brickwork, roofing, and plumbing. The goal on this job order contract is that we would have 2 separate contractors in regards to capacity, and because We only had one responsive and responsible bidder for these that we're providing only for approval to that vendor, and then the other ones we will reject and rebid. This will go to WDF Inc., and the dollar amounts are as followed. For the brickwork contract, that's $5 million as a job order contract. For the heating was $7 million as a job order contract, and for the plumbing was $5 million, for the plumbing work, and the roofing job order contract was for $5 million. The other four we would request to have rejection. Depending on the task order will depend on the number of Section 3 hires, and the VNC is still pending on this contract. Okay. Item number 17 is for Unity Plaza. This is a city-funded and federally funded program. We are seeking authorization to award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, UTB United Technology, Inc., for the community center upgrades and roofing replacement at Unity Plaza for the amount of $4 million, $137,450. They are a minority-owned business and have done work with the New York City Housing Authority. There is a pending VNC, and as soon as we receive that, we will approve the contract. There was a 64.57 variance between their bid and our estimates. We've reviewed all of the items, scope items, and their line items, and we believe that the higher costs are due to market conditions and some of the materials within the scope, but we do believe that this is a good bid and would like to continue on this process. This is originally funded by Council Member Charles Barron for the interior community portion of it, but we found that there were leaks happening from the roofing, and that it would not be prudent for the authority to move forward on the renovations on the interior until we took care of the roofing. As I've mentioned before, one of the great parts to this story is that when we do roofing programs now, it does not matter if it is the resident, most of the time we would just do the residential buildings and not take care of the roofing at the community centers. While we have the contractors there, we feel that it is important for us to also do the community centers, so that way we're taking care of all of the roofs in that development, and they're all under warranty and guarantee as we leave. I'd like to move on to item number 18. We seek the authorization, and so this is a recovery and resiliency program. For engineering services, we would seek the authorization to amend the agreement with Facility Strategies Group, LLC, or FSG, for environmental and consulting services by $1,500,000. This is energy and consulting services to support the EPCs as through the Energy and Sustainability Program. As those programs, when we originally did these contracts, they were designed based on the current EPCs that we had. As we had a larger pipeline and HUD approved those pipelines, we increased the services to match that. It wasn't prudent for us to have contracts out there without those approved EPCs through the HUD program. And so that is the reason for increasing the scope, so that way they can perform the work associated to those EPCs.
These are the energy performance contracts.
Energy performance contracts, correct. Item 19 is part of the Recovery and Resiliency Program. We seek to authorize and amend the agreement with D&B Engineers and Architects. They handle the construction manager as agent, or CM services, for the Sandy Recovery Program at Carlton Manor, Hamel, and Redfern houses. We're increasing this by $1,431,670.06. As the project duration has extended based on the scope changes from the original Recovery and Resiliency Program, the construction management services, or those who manage that construction contract, need to change as well. And we are asking for that as part of this contract. There's really no change to the Hamilton, but there was changes to the Carlton Manor and Red Ferns program based on design changes. Yes.
I believe I read that y'all have been doing business with them since 2015, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, like normally I just sometimes just randomly pick out, and just, look up a company or whatever. In this particular case here, DNB has had ongoing issues with numerous violations and things since 2007 to 2017.
Mhm.
Going forward, would they still be considered, or why, what is their history with NYCHA as far as doing business? Because it's really just out there.
Right. So this is actually an ongoing contract. The construction manager is managing the construction during the construction process. When we are in the process of doing the work and in the field, it would not be prudent to change out those contractors or construction managers. We only do that in very rare cases where the projects are not moving, or the CM or the AE or the special inspector is not performing on that project. In this scenario, the construction project is already ongoing, the construction manager is already ongoing, and so we just want them to continue out the process until the construction project is completed. When we are awarding new bids, we always are reevaluating those bids with the VNC, as well as any past performance that we have on record with them at NYCHA. So, for example, in your case, if there was another bid for construction management services or AE services, and we had record of them, as you've mentioned, we would use that to evaluate that next bid that would be happening.
Understood. So would you say that it wouldn't make sense to stop in the middle of the horse in the stream? We'll continue doing, but they've had the issues from 2007, before you started using them, up to 2017. Was this not picked up or whatever? I mean, I'm not gonna go through the whole list of the litigations and problems with them, but they've had these issues before y'all started doing business. Was there nothing came to notice or whatever regarding this, or, and then the case when y'all originally started using them?
So I can, if you would like, we will look into when this original contract was awarded and the process by which they were reviewed. They would have had to have a VNC at that time period. But your point is well taken. When this was awarded, as well as any future work that they would be doing with the authority. And Jason will.
I'm Jason Goldberg, Associate General Counsel of Corporate Affairs. If I could just add, prior to the initial award, this vendor, as with all vendors NYCHA enters into a contract with, would undergo a responsibility review, which includes looking at the vendor name check, information from the passport system, formerly Vendex. The Inspector General's office might alert us to anything. That thorough review doesn't always occur, or would not occur, in the middle of a contract. That would, if there's an integrity issue with NYCHA, it would be looked at specifically. But from what I hear, these may have been issues with other entities or other private sector firms. If there is an integrity issue that is significant enough for NYCHA to look at whether we should terminate a contractor for their performance with someone else, that perhaps would be looked at, but I'm not aware. We'd have to look further to see what the facts are in this case, but I don't think we're aware of anything that would have risen to the level of NYCHA having to terminate an ongoing CMA.
In this, how are they doing with this job in terms of the management of the job?
So, my understanding is that they are doing well. Hamilton, there is no change. That is moving forward. I do know that we are monitoring the risk associated to Carlton Manor, but that has not that it doesn't have to do with the construction manager.
Right.
That has to do with other issues. and Redfern as well is moving forward. They also have other contracts with the Capital Projects Division, AE contracts as well as CM contracts. It's not that I'm aware of at this point in time. We are not having any issues with them.
Okay. 20.
20, excuse me.
Con Pedersen Fox.
Sorry, I don't have this in front of me, but we're requesting a contract increase to Goen Pedersen Fox. They are in architecture and engineering services.
It's a ratification.
And it's a ratification to their existing contract for $32,500. This is also part of the Recovery and Resiliency Program. They are working on the Red Hook East and West projects. This contract is associated to the Red Hook West contracts. As designs have changed, we needed to provide additional architectural and engineering services, particularly in this case was associated to a parapet design change for this architectural firm.
Okay.
Item number 21 is
Ratification.
ratification. This is also in regards to the Recovery and Resiliency Program, the Sandy Recovery Program. We're requesting the ratification of 2 change orders in the amount of $2,213,507.98. This is for Adams European Contracting for the restoration at Gowanus Houses. The change orders on this contract exceed 10% of the original contract value. These were ones in which we did not want to slow the schedule, and so we were moving ahead as we were negotiating the contracts, so the work is actually completed on these change orders to date. Change order number 6 was associated to a difference in the heating point connections, and we are working with the architect and engineer to determine if this was an issue that should have been picked up. Those issues, we are speaking with the architect and engineers if it is in the contract to allow for us to recuperate some of those costs if it was a design error. But again, we didn't want to prevent delay in completing the project. Change order number 7 had to do with some DOB violations that we added scope to the project, and the contractor has started to move forward on working on those items as well.
I've got a quick question.
Yes.
Does FEMA pre-approve the additional expense before we go forward? How does that work with FEMA?
So it is my understanding that the dollar amount that we have received from FEMA is the dollar amount, and we have contingency associated to each of these contracts. What we do is we manage that risk through the process. There was some significant value engineering and design changes at the beginning as we were receiving estimates to make sure that the dollar amount that we had received through the different sources for the Recovery and Resiliency Program met the work that we would be doing. And so there were numerous items that we had to modify early on in the design to make sure that we could be where we are today. We monitor that 10%, and we will continue to monitor the change orders and cost overruns associated to this, so that way we're able to close out these projects at the end.
So in other words, the amount that we got from FEMA, we will not exceed.
We cannot exceed that. Well, if we exceed that amount, it comes from the authority and the city of New York.
But this is going to fit underneath the FEMA.
Well, that bucket of money, it came from a number of different places, not just FEMA. There were some insurance proceeds as well as some federal capital money. One of the things that we do at Capital is we leverage our funds. So there may be work happening at a FEMA site in which we're replacing a heating plant. We're moving some of those heating plants out of the basements. But if there is some tank room and valve pieces that may not have been supported by the recovery and resiliency and the insurance proceeds, we may have leveraged federal funds so that way we could take care of those items as well, so that we have a complete system. So it's a mix of funding.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Is the FEMA permit a contingency in their budgeting, or do they just want to see hard items with?
I would have to get back to you, but in general, the overall contract, as we pull the dollars amount, we have our contingencies, and depending on the level of design at the time of those contracts, depended on the size of the contingency, but for the most part, it was a 10% contingency.
For all funds?
For all funds,
Okay.
yeah. There are no other questions. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, I'm sorry.
Back to 19, you said that they're presently and haven't had any issues with y'all using them. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
On number 19, D&B.
D&B.
Yes. Are we having issues with them?
From your knowledge, from when you've been using them,
Mhm.
'cause like I stated, they have it's just really blatant, the issues that they've had ongoing for years. So I'm just saying you have no issues with them at all, none.
Well, I'm
The
not
work
saying
being
that
done.
we don't have any issues with them. I'm saying that they've been performing well for us under the contracts that we have. I will go back and speak with staff across the board, but it is my understanding, particularly on the recovery and resiliency, but other programs that we have at Capitol, that they've been a responsible partner in performing the work that we needed them to do under their contract.
And Steve, if you could do that research, if you could forward to myself and Vito, then we can distribute it to the board. So
Okay.
we can follow up with a written assessment of this based on file review and that kind of thing.
Okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Items 23 through 53, with the exception of 49.
Good morning. Sorry. Joe Cortine, VP Operations. Item number 23 is requesting approval of funding increase of $257,400 for an agreement with Output Services Group Incorporated for lead-based paint and window guard annual notices, which is an extension of a 2-year with a 1-term renewal option. These are notices for the window guard and lead paint annual notices, but also in addition will be for, as required by law, stove knob cover notification, and also an emergency preparedness and response checklist. Any questions? Okay. Items 24 through 33 have to do with painting department contracts. Item 24 is for $255,369 at Reed Apartments for approval of funding increase to award Amazonas Painting Corporation for maintenance and painting of apartments for the additional 1-year renewal option on a 2-year term contract. Item 25 is for Marble Hill Houses for approval of funding increase of $352,428 for maintenance and painting of apartments. Again, with a renewal contract, renewal of 1-year renewal on a 2-year term contract. Item 26, for Polo Grounds Towers, for approval of funding increase of $486,208 for maintenance and painting of apartments for a 1-year renewal of a 2-year term contract.
And could you make sure you say the vendor? who's
Oh, I'm
being
sorry,
awarded,
yes.
please?
Awarded to Satcar Construction, sorry. Item number 27 is for Williamsburg Houses for funding increase of $534,511 for a requirement contract awarded to Satgar Construction Incorporated for maintenance and painting of apartments Again, one-year renewal of a two-year term contract. Item number 28, the Red Fern Houses. Approve a funding increase of $253,168 awarded to award to Top Notch Painting Incorporated for maintenance and painting of apartments. One-year renewal of a two-year term contract. Item number 29 is for Rutgers Houses. Requesting to approve a funding increase of $272,860 for New Essex Incorporated for maintenance, painting of apartments. A one-year renewal or a two-year extension, two-year contract. Item number 30, regarding Red Hook West, buildings 1 through 4. Authorization requesting approval of funding increase of $426,481 for awarded to Simcoe Enterprises Corporation for maintenance and painting of apartments for a one-year renewal option on a two-year term contract. Item number 31 is for Marlborough Houses, and it's regarding authorization requesting to approve a funding increase of $855 awarded to New Essex Incorporated for maintenance and painting of apartments. Again, another one-year renewal on a two-year contract. Item number 32 is Ocean Hill Apartments, Saratoga Village. Requesting authorization for approval, funding increase of $112,010 awarded to New Essex Flooring Covering Incorporated for maintenance and painting of apartments. Will extend one-year renewal on a two-year contract. Item number 33, various locations, Manhattan, is requesting approval for funding increase of $339,236 for a one-year renewal on a two-year term contract. Again, the awarded to Verinda Incorporated for maintenance and painting of apartments. Excuse me. Item number 34 is requesting authorization to approve a funding increase of $68,391.12 awarded to United Eagle Renovations for acid wash for concrete. Again, another one-year renewal option on a two-year contract. Various Brooklyn, Bronx, and Manhattan locations under NGL.
And when would we use this service? What would the acid wash?
For acid wash. It's the cleaning of the concrete. In some cases, it has to do with just cleaning because it's mold, mildew on the concrete, and it's damaged surface in terms of, could be graffiti, could be other things that have damaged the surface. It also is used in prepping when you're going to resurface and top. So you have to remove anything that's on that surface in order for the new surface to adhere.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Item number 35 is for, again, various Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan locations under NGO, is seeking to approve a funding increase of $48,437.19 awarded to Bayani General Construction Incorporated for wood floor repair and refinish. Another one-year renewal option on a two-year term contract. Item number 36, under NGO, various Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan locations, to approve a funding increase of $89,589.64 awarded to Earthlink General Construction Incorporated for graffiti removal. Again, using one-year renewal option to increase a two-year term contract. Item number 37 is various Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan locations under NGO, seeking to approve a funding increase of $99,673.30, awarded to EIA Electric Incorporated for repair and/or replacement of public space lighting. This is another one-year renewal option on a 2-year contract. Item number 38 is for various Queens and Staten Island locations to approve, requested approval of funding increase, of $654,642.96, awarded to Sahara Construction Corporation for the repair and/or replacement of roof fans. This is another one-year renewal option on a 2-year term contract. Any questions? Number 39 is for various Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan locations under NGO 1. And it's requesting to approve a funding increase of $197,655.08. And it's awarded to Metro City Renovation Incorporated for tub glazing. 1-year renewal option on a 2-year contract. Items 40 through 44 are related to violation, vinyl composition tile, which could be in violation. This is for Boulevard and Belmont Sutter area, and this is for approval of funding increase of $158,194, awarded to P786 Incorporated for the removal and installation of composition floor tiles in apartments. And this is with a 1-year renewal with 1 6-month renewal option for this contract. Any questions? Okay. 41, item 41, is various Bronx locations, and it's seeking to request to approve a funding increase of $52,000. Awarded to Isla Painting Incorporated for the removal and installation of vinyl composition floor tiles in apartments. This is for initial 1 term with a 1 6-month renewal option on this contract. Item 42 is Bushwick and Highland areas. To requested to approve a funding increase of $45,710, awarded to J.P. Honda Construction Incorporated for removal and installation of vinyl composition floor tiles in apartments. It's another 1-year contract with a 6-month renewal option. Number 43 is Van Dyke Houses. And it's seeking to approve a funding increase of $127,360, awarded to J.P. Honda Construction for the removal and installation of vinyl composition floor tiles in apartments. I have violations on my mind. For initial 1 term with a 1 6-month renewal option.
Okay, one more time.
Item number 44. Is Isaacs Homes Towers and Robbins Plaza. And it's seeking authorization, requesting authorization to approve a funding increase of $25,278, awarded to Metro City Renovation Incorporated for the removal and installation of vinyl composition floor tiles in apartments. Another 1-year contract with a 6-month renewal option. Item number 45, various Queens and Staten Island locations. And it's requesting approval to fund a funding increase of $305,792.10. Awarded to Premier Compaction Systems, LLC, for repair of interior compactor refuse management systems. Initial 1-year renewal option. Item 46, various citywide locations. Requesting approval of a funding increase of $2 million awarded to Cushy Construction Incorporated for glass and glazing replacement for main entrance doors and curtain walls. Initial two-year term contract with a one-year renewal option. Item 47 is various locations citywide under NJO. And it's a request for approval of a funding increase of $67,190.60 awarded to M&RR Construction Corporation for the cleaning of basements and crawl spaces. It's a one-year renewal option on this contract.
Question. M&RR, they're not, I was looking and they're not accredited, they have no history of any work done that I was able to find. So how is the relationship with them then?
I think was an existing contract, so they have been doing work, so I believe it's satisfactory. Item number 48, various Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan locations. To approve, requesting approval of a funding increase of $149,566.82 awarded to Campbell's Professional Services, LLC, for janitorial general cleaning and debris removal, moving out of apartments in fire damage conditions. And it's an initial two-year term contract with this one-year renewal option. Going to item 50. In various Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan locations, requesting approval of a funding increase of $278,174.74 awarded to EIA Electric Incorporated for service of electromagnetic locks at these various locations on the doors. It's a one-year renewal option on a two-year term contract. Item 51 is various locations citywide, and it's for the requesting award of this requirement contract for the amount of $4,808,779.16 for purchase, installation, and maintenance repair of copper and silver ionization system. The award is requested for a contract to the lowest bidder, responsive bidder, and a responsible bidder, Liquid Tech Incorporated.
Joe.
This is at, I'm sorry.
So this is for the maintenance on existing systems, plus any installation of new work.
Right.
And primarily if we find issues with the water.
It's, usually specifically Legionella.
Okay.
And that's when Department of Health finds that there were two people within a 12-month period at a location that have been identified as having coming down with Legionnaire's disease. So the water is then treated.
Okay.
And also, I think we've also tested other locations and found presence, so proactively installing those as well.
Thank you.
Okay, this is for item, let's go back to 51, sorry, excuse me. Item number 52 is various citywide locations. This is to ratify an award of this contract of $1,625,000. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Limited Enterprise Incorporated, for purchase and delivery of 5 mobile boilers. Item number 53 This is requesting to award requirement contract to the sole responsive and responsible bidder, United Rentals North America Incorporated, for the amount of $8,692,431.16. And this is for contract for the monthly rental, delivery, and mobilization of 12 generators that are already in place at Jackson houses. This is provides for 3 6-month renewal options on this contract.
Okay, questions? No. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
49.
Good morning. My name is Rasul Azanjad. I'm the Vice President for Healthy Home. Item number 49, authorization is requested to approve the funding increase to existing requirement contract awarded to Genesis Environmental Consultant for lead-based paint, dust wipes inspection and testing, which did not require the initial board resolution authorization for the initial 2-year term and 1-year renewal option. In order to fund the contract provision of the service during the remainder of the initial 2-year term and the 1-year renewal option term, which commenced on May 29, 2018, and will continue through May 28, 2021. The original not to exceed amount was $809,286. Increased, the amount of authorization increase is $945,880.63. So not to exceed amount, the total will be $1,755,166.63.
And this is to help us with the lead
That's right.
compliance.
Right, lead compliance, based on the agreement. Yes.
And the amount, the scope of work is going to be the same, but the increase?
Yes.
Right.
Increase just,
Mhm.
okay.
Just for, it's picking up their contract to do the dust wipes, which are critical
Right.
to
Our
determining if we are.
abatement and
Oh, abatement.
remediation.
And remediation.
Any questions?
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Joseph Lamarca. I'm Director of General Services. I am going to be presenting board items 54 and 55. Board item number 54 is seeking authorization to enter into an agreement with Konica Minolta Systems Business Solutions, for purchase of service of 12 high-volume production printers. NYCHA's agreement is for a term of 5 years with no renewal options and not to exceed amount of $3,110,308.46. This agreement was a piggyback of a New York State Office of General Services contract, which commenced on September 1st, 2014, and will expire on August 31st of 2020. NYCHA's agreement will commence on December 30th of 2019 and will continue through December 29th of 2024. This agreement provides for the purchase and service of 12 high-volume production printers for the Department of General Services to be used in our print shop and copy centers. These printers are primarily used for our CBO-related correspondence to the authority's residents and Section 8 landlords. Type of jobs are the annual recertification packets, the resident notifications of rent changes, apartment inspections, reminders to submit annual recertifications, termination notices, and now the new mold inspection review notices that go out. Correspondence to the Section 8 landlords regarding inspections, rent increases, and change of addresses for Section 8 residents. In 2019 through October, these machines produced nearly 13 million impressions or pages. Therefore, I'm requesting your approval to enter into this agreement with Konica Minolta for the purchase and service of the 12 high-volume production printers for the total of $3,110,380.46. Questions? Yes, Ms. Adams.
Would be able to have the model and year on the machines used? You said they're high quality machines, but do they have a model and year number joined with them? I didn't see it in the report.
Yeah, the model, these models are 6100s and 6000s. One is, some are color, pure color and black and white, and some are just black and white, obviously, because we have two different types of printing that we do from the SIBO system. So we don't want to just buy all color machines because they'd be more expensive.
And it's a year.
Brand new machines. These are brand new machines that we're getting. We never buy anything that's refurbished or not new at NYCHA. Any other questions? Item number 55. This is a resolution I'm seeking authorization to approve funding increase of $42,998 for the agreement with Summit Office Services Limited for maintenance of our offset printing equipment. NYCHA's agreement, which did not require board approval for the term of 2 years with a 1-year renewal option and a not-to-exceed amount of $85,996. This agreement commenced on October 30th of 2017 and continues through October 29th of 2020. By the way of background, Summit provides for the maintenance of our authority's offset printing and finishing equipment. This offset printing equipment is used for high-volume jobs such as meeting flyers and general notices, basically documents that are 1 pages or so, not documents that will go into the high production printers. The finishing equipment includes electronic staplers, cutters, folders, also used for high volume and high page counts. The scope of this agreement includes all labor, consumable materials, equipment, insurance, and incidentals required to perform the maintenance of the on-set printing equipment. The agreement also provides for a monthly preventive maintenance check of our equipment. This vendor comes onto the premises, whether we call him or not, lubes all the machines, looks at all the gears on the machines, because these are the older machines, and repairs those. The requested increase will fund the 1-year renewal option at the same amount annual rate as the first 2 years. Therefore, I'm requesting your approval to fund the continued provision of services during the remainder of the 1-year renewal option term with Summit by increasing the not-to-exceed amount by $42,982 for a total not-to-exceed amount of $128,994. Any questions?
I'm sorry, what was?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What was the amount, Joe? I'm sorry.
The total amount on this one?
Yeah, the amount is 42,000.
$128,994.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, that's not the amount on the resolution, so
Oh.
we'll have to.
The amount we're requesting is $42,998.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
This,
all right.
the contract would increase to one.
That's the
Okay, that's,
Right,
okay.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lavetta Mulku. I am here representing the Real Estate Development Department, requesting authorization as it relates to the conversion of 9 developments, collectively the project site consisting of 2,625 units in Kings County, New York, from Section 9 of the Housing Act of to long-term project-based Section 8 rental assistance pursuant to the RAD program under HUD, Notice H 2019-09, PIH 2019-23, Revision 4, as amendment, and through the authority's Permanent Affordability Commitment Together initiative, known as PACT, also through the 2 CFR Part 200, and thirdly, through the Section 18 program through HUD. We are authorizing or requesting authorization to, 1, submit documents to HUD for conversion approvals, 2, form corporate affiliates of the authority for use in the organizational structure of such transactions, 3, upon HUD approvals and New York City Housing Development Corporation's disclosure clearance of the developer to enter into 1 or more 99-year ground leases and other documents in the corporate affiliates with the ARCA companies, Omni New York LLC, DeBar Development Partners, and Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration Corporation for the project site's leasehold conveyance and financing. 4, enter into a payment in lieu of taxes, also known as a pilot agreement, with the city for the exemption of real estate taxes on the project site. 4, provide the lessor's financing and subordinate subsidy financing for the authority, which will be evidenced by 1 or more notes and secured by 1 or more mortgages. And 6, take such further action as may be necessary to commensurate the project. A few things I want to note. This is not the first time we've presented to the board. We've received a number of resolutions allowing for a RAD application, which subsequently led her to approve the commitment to enter into housing assistance payments, known as CHAPS. We also submitted a Section 18 application and a Part 200 application to HUD. We received approval for the HUD application on November 18th, 2019. The other two applications are pending. Proposed closing date is on or around December 18th, 2019. Also want to note a few items regarding the financing. Subject to the final budget, the anticipated total cost of recapitalization and rehabilitation of the project is $991,930,006. Wait, yeah. Oh, $991 million approximately. Sorry. The project includes the total acquisition payment of approximately $539.1 million. NYCHA will approximately receive $19.7 million in a developer fee at closing and anticipated $77.7 million over cash flow over 30 years. One other thing to highlight is that the development team anticipates providing 90 permanent jobs through Section 3 and approximately 295 new temporary construction jobs. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
very much.
Last but certainly not least, my name is Kelly McNeil. I'm the Executive Vice President for Legal Affairs and General Counsel. Good afternoon, almost, board members, chair, general manager, and Madam Corporate Secretary. I'm here to present items 57 and 58. 57, authorization is requested to ratify a funding increase to the retainer agreement with Crowell and Mooring LLP for outside counsel services in connection with governmental investigations and resulting or related claims, litigation, and causes of action, which did not require initial board authorization for the duration of the inquiry, to increase the not-to-exceed amount in order to fund the cost of legal services already rendered, which commenced on January 11th, 2019, and is continuing through the duration of the inquiry. The amount requested is $50,000. Are there any questions? Item number 58. Authorization is requested to commence the process for one, establish the committees referenced as Audit and Finance Committee of the Board, Operations, Compliance, and Capital Investments Committee, Resident and Community Affairs Committee, and the Governance Committee. 2, develop charters for the committees. And 3, approve the chair's appointments to the committees subsequent to the authority's amendment to Section 1.04 of the authority's bylaws. Are there any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, 58 items were presented for board approval. May I have a motion to approve the 58 items?
So moved.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Chair, being that all matters before the board today have been addressed, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, fellow board members.